The ancient ship arrives. The year was 2347. The Galactic Council station floated in the middle of deep space. It was the biggest space station in the entire galaxy. Thousands of alien species lived there. They came from different planets. They spoke different languages, but they all shared one thing. They believed they knew everything about the universe. They were wrong. It was a normal day on the station. Ships came and went. Aliens walked through the busy markets. Children played in the parks. Nobody expected what was about to happen. Then it appeared. A massive ship came out of nowhere. It didn't come through any normal space gate. It just appeared. Like a ghost. One moment, empty space. The next moment, a ship bigger than anyone had ever seen. Alarms started screaming across the station. Red lights flashed everywhere. Soldiers ran to their positions. Every alien stopped what they were doing and looked up at the screens. The ship was ancient. Its metal was dark and covered with strange symbols. Some parts of it were broken. Some parts were burning with a soft blue light. It looked like it had traveled through time itself. "How old is that thing?" a young officer whispered. The computer answered in a cold voice, "Estimated age, 10,000 years." 10,000 years. That was older than most civilizations in the galaxy. That was older than recorded history. Fear spread through the station like fire. Nobody had seen anything like this before. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody knew who was inside. The council leaders gathered in the main hall. They were the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They controlled armies. They controlled planets. They controlled everything. But today, they looked scared. High Chancellor Draven stood at the center. He was tall, with grey skin and cold eyes. He had ruled the council for 200 years. Nothing surprised him, until now. "What do they want?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, the ancient ship sent a message. Every screen on the station showed the same words. Every speaker played the same voice. It was soft. It was tired. It sounded like someone who had been waiting for a very, very long time. The message was simple. "We wish to speak. Send your best." That was all. Nothing more, nothing less. The council hall went silent. Every alien looked at each other. Questions filled the air. Who were they? What did they want? Why now? Why here? Chancellor Draven straightened his back. He would not show fear. Not in front of his people. "Prepare a welcome party," he ordered, "and bring every translator we have, every scientist, every linguist. I want to know who they are and what they want." He paused and looked at the ancient ship on the screen. "And I want to know," he said slowly, "what took them 10,000 years to say." Nobody knew it yet. But this moment would change the galaxy forever. This moment would change everything they believed about language, about power, and about a small species called humans. The ancient ship waited in silence, and somewhere inside, someone was dying to deliver a message. The emissary appears, the first mystery. The docking bay was filled with soldiers. 200 of the galaxy's best warriors stood in perfect lines. Their weapons were ready. Their eyes were focused on the ancient ship's door. Behind them, the council leaders watched from a safe distance. High Chancellor Draven stood at the front. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed nothing. He had faced wars, he had faced enemies, but he had never faced something this old, this unknown. The ship's door began to open. A bright blue light poured out. It was warm. It was soft. It felt like sunlight after a long winter. The soldiers raised their weapons, but somehow they didn't feel afraid anymore. They felt calm. Then she appeared. A tall figure stepped out of the light. She was female. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing. Her eyes were large and deep purple, like two galaxies trapped in her face. She wore a long white robe covered with symbols that seemed to move on their own. She was beautiful, but she was also sad, so deeply sad. Everyone could feel it. Her sadness filled the air like perfume. Some soldiers lowered their weapons without thinking. Some aliens felt tears in their eyes and didn't know why. She looked old, not in her face. Her face was smooth and young, but in her eyes. Her eyes looked tired, like someone who had seen too much, lost too much, waited too long. She took a slow step forward, then another. Her legs were weak. She was struggling to walk. Chancellor Draven stepped forward carefully. "I am High Chancellor Draven," he said loudly, "leader of the Galactic Council. Who are you? Why have you come here?" The emissary looked at him. She opened her mouth and spoke, but what came out was not words. It was music, it was colors, it was feelings mixed with sounds that nobody had ever heard before. Her voice went high and low. It vibrated through the air. It touched something deep inside everyone who heard it, but nobody understood. Not a single word. Chancellor Draven looked confused. He turned to his translator, a small device on his wrist. The screen was going crazy, numbers and symbols flashing with no result. "Translation failed," the device said. "Language unknown." The emissary spoke again. This time her voice was desperate. She pointed at the sky. She put her hand on her heart. She made gestures like something was coming, something bad. But still, nobody understood. She fell to her knees, her eyes filled with tears, purple tears that glowed in the light. She whispered something, over and over, the same sounds, like a prayer, like a warning, like a mother calling for help. But the galaxy's most powerful leaders just stood there, watching, unable to help. The emissary had traveled 10,000 years to deliver a message, and nobody could hear her. The galaxy's best try and fail, the impossible language. 3 days passed. The emissary was moved to a special room in the council building. She was given food, water, and medicine, but she barely touched anything. She just sat by the window looking at the stars, waiting for someone to understand. Chancellor Draven called the best minds in the galaxy. He didn't care about cost. He didn't care about pride. Something about the emissary's eyes told him this was important. Very important. The first expert arrived within hours. His name was Zorath. Zorath was a Mindorian, a species known for their incredible intelligence. He was 400 years old. He had studied over 3,000 languages. He could speak to almost any species in the galaxy. He was the best linguist alive. "This will be simple," Zorath said confidently. "Every language has patterns. I will find the pattern." He sat with the emissary for 6 hours. He listened, he recorded, he analyzed every sound she made. He ran the sounds through hundreds of translation models. Nothing worked. "This is impossible," Zorath whispered. His confident face was gone. Now he looked pale, scared. "Her language is not based on sounds. It's not based on words. I don't know what it's based on." He left the room without looking back. The second expert was not a person. It was a machine. Nexus 7. Nexus 7 was the most powerful artificial intelligence in the galaxy. It had been built by combining the technology of 15 species. It could process more information in 1 second than a human brain could process in 1,000 years. "Language analysis beginning," Nexus 7 announced. The emissary spoke to the machine. She spoke for 10 minutes straight. Her voice rose and fell, her sounds mixed with emotions. Her words painted colors in the air that only she could see. Nexus 7 listened. Then it started shaking. "Error! Error! Error!" Sparks flew from the machine. Screens cracked. The most powerful computer in the galaxy was breaking down. "Cannot process. Language contains emotional wavelengths, memory patterns detected, sensory data beyond parameters. System overload, system..." Nexus 7 exploded. Pieces of the machine flew across the room. Engineers ran in to control the damage. The emissary just watched with tired eyes. She was not surprised. She knew they would fail. The third expert was Priest Morvan. Morvan was ancient. His species lived for thousands of years. He had spent his entire life studying old texts and forgotten civilizations. He knew things that others had forgotten long ago. He sat with the emissary in silence for a long time. Then he spoke to the council. "I know what she is," Morvan said. His voice was heavy. "She is Velith, the first intelligent species to ever exist in this galaxy. They disappeared 10,000 years ago. Everyone thought they were dead." "Can you understand her?" Chancellor Draven asked desperately. Morvan shook his head slowly. "The Velith did not speak with words," he explained. "They spoke with emotions, with memories, with feelings that traveled from heart to heart. Their language cannot be translated by machines or learned from books." He looked at the emissary with pity. "To understand her, you must feel what she feels. You must share her pain. You must connect with her soul." He paused. "And I have never met anyone who could do that." Chancellor Draven slammed his fist on the table. "There must be someone. Search every planet. Find every expert. I don't care what it takes." But deep down, he was starting to lose hope. The greatest minds had failed. The greatest technology had failed. And the emissary was getting weaker every day. Enter Marcus, the homeless human, the broken man. Far below the council halls, in the darkest part of the station, there was a place called the lower levels. This was where the poor lived, the forgotten, the broken. No sunlight reached here. Only dim lights that flickered every few hours. The air smelled like rust and garbage. Rats and insects crawled through the shadows. This was where Marcus lived. Marcus was human, 34 years old. Once he had been a teacher. He taught music and languages to children on Earth Colony 7. He had a small house, a beautiful wife named Sarah, a little daughter named Lily. Lily was born deaf. She couldn't hear music, she couldn't hear words. But Marcus didn't care. He loved her more than anything in the universe. He learned to communicate with her through touch, through feelings, through looks and smiles and tears. When he held her hand, she knew he loved her. When he hummed a song, she could feel the vibrations in his chest. She used to say, "Daddy, I can hear your heart." That was 5 years ago. Then the attack came. Colony 7 was destroyed by raiders. Everything burned. His house, his wife, his daughter. Marcus survived because he wasn't home. He was on a supply ship. When he returned, there was nothing left, just ashes. He tried to rebuild, he tried to work, but the pain was too much. He couldn't teach anymore. He couldn't play music anymore. Every song reminded him of Lily. Every child's laugh reminded him of what he lost. Slowly, he fell apart. He lost his job, then his home, then his hope. He traveled from station to station, doing small jobs, cleaning ships, carrying boxes, whatever paid enough for food. Now he lived in the garbage sector of the Galactic Council station. He slept between broken machines. He ate whatever food others threw away. He was invisible. Nobody looked at him. Nobody talked to him. Humans were already considered the lowest species in the galaxy. Too young, too weak, too emotional. A homeless human? Even more invisible. But Marcus didn't care about being seen anymore. He just wanted to survive one more day, then one more, then one more. He didn't know why. Maybe habit, maybe fear of death, or maybe... Some small part of him still hoped. Hoped for what? He didn't know. That night Marcus was cleaning a ventilation shaft near the council building. It was a simple job. Remove the dirt, replace the filters, get paid 5 credits. He climbed into the shaft and started working. That's when he heard it. A voice, coming through the vent. It was soft. It was musical. It rose and fell like waves on a beach. It wasn't words. It wasn't any language Marcus knew. But somehow he understood. He stopped breathing. His hands started shaking because the voice was saying, "Please hear me. I am so alone. My children, they died. Please, someone, anyone, hear me." Tears fell from Marcus's eyes before he even knew he was crying. That voice, that pain, that loneliness. It was exactly what he felt every single day. He pressed his ear against the vent, desperate to hear more. The connection begins. Two broken souls. Marcus followed the voice. He crawled through the vents. He climbed through tunnels. He didn't care about his job anymore. He didn't care about the 5 credits. All he cared about was that voice. He found a vent that looked down into a beautiful room, and there she was, the emissary. She sat alone by a window. Her silver skin glowed in the starlight. Her purple eyes stared at nothing. She was whispering to herself, the same sounds over and over, and Marcus understood every feeling. "You lost someone," he whispered. "You lost everyone. And you've been alone for so long. So very long." The emissary suddenly stopped. She looked up. Her eyes scanned the room. She had felt something. Someone. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had heard her. But before she could find Marcus, a guard spotted him. "Hey, you! What are you doing here?" Strong hands grabbed Marcus and pulled him from the vent. "This is a restricted area. No lower-level trash allowed." The guard threw Marcus against the wall. Pain shot through his back, but Marcus didn't care about the pain. "Please," Marcus begged. "I can understand her. I can feel what she's saying. Please let me talk to her." The guard laughed. "You, a homeless human, understand the ancient emissary? The best minds in the galaxy failed. What makes you think you can do anything?" He kicked Marcus toward the exit. "Get out, and don't come back. If I see you again, I'll throw you in prison." Marcus stumbled away, but his mind was racing. He had felt her. He had understood her. He didn't know how or why, but he knew he was the only one who could help. He had to find a way back to her, no matter what it took. The emissary is dying. Time runs out. Inside the council hall, panic was spreading. The emissary had collapsed. Doctors from 12 different species surrounded her bed. They ran tests. They checked her vital signs. They injected her with medicine. Nothing helped. "She's dying," the head doctor announced. "Her body is shutting down. She's been alive for too long. 10,000 years in some kind of sleep chamber. Her cells are giving up." "How long does she have?" Chancellor Draven demanded. 2 days, maybe less." Silence filled the room. 2 days. They had 2 days to understand her message. 2 days before the last survivor of the oldest species in the galaxy died, and they still knew nothing. Ambassador Lyris stood in the corner, watching everything. She was different from the other council members. She came from a peaceful species that valued kindness over power. She didn't look down on anyone, not even humans. She had seen the reports about the homeless man near the vents. The guards had laughed about it. Some crazy human thought he could understand her. But Lyris didn't laugh. She had learned long ago that wisdom sometimes comes from unexpected places. That night she went down to the lower levels. It took her 3 hours to find Marcus. He was sitting in a dark corner, hugging his knees. He hadn't eaten all day. But he wasn't thinking about food. He was thinking about her. "You're the one who said you could understand her," Lyris said softly. Marcus looked up. An alien in expensive clothes was standing in front of him. Why would someone like her come here? "I know what I felt," Marcus said. "I felt her pain, her loneliness. I understood what she was feeling." "The guards think you're crazy." "Maybe I am." Marcus laughed bitterly. "I've been crazy since I lost my family." Lyris sat down next to him, in the dirt, in the garbage, like he was her equal. "Tell me about your family," she said gently. Marcus was surprised. No one had asked him about his family in years. No one cared. So he told her about Sarah, about Lily, about how he learned to communicate with his deaf daughter through feelings and touch, about how he could understand her without words. Lyris listened to everything. Then she stood up and offered him her hand. "Come with me." "Where?" "To see her, the emissary." Marcus's eyes went wide. But I'm not allowed. The guards... I am Ambassador Lyris. I can bring whoever I want. She smiled. And right now, I want to bring you. Marcus faces the council, the laughing stock. The council hall was full when Marcus arrived. 50 alien leaders sat in a circle. They were tall, powerful, ancient. Some of them had ruled their species for centuries. Some of them controlled entire star systems, and in the middle of them stood Marcus, a homeless human in dirty clothes. The laughter started immediately. "This is your solution, Lyris." Chancellor Draven's voice was cold. "A human beggar?" "He says he can understand her," Lyris replied calmly. "Nexus 7 couldn't understand her. Zorath couldn't understand her. And you think this creature can?" More laughter. "Humans are the youngest species in the galaxy," another leader said. "They haven't even mastered space travel properly. What could they possibly know about an ancient language?" "They're too emotional," someone else added. "Too simple, too primitive." Marcus stood in silence, letting the insults wash over him. He had heard worse. He had lived worse. Nothing they said could hurt more than what he had already lost. Finally, he spoke. "You're right," he said quietly. "I am nobody. I have nothing. I know nothing about ancient languages or alien technology." He looked at the emissary. She was lying on a bed, her eyes barely open. But she was looking at him, watching him. "But I know what it feels like to lose everyone you love. I know what it feels like to be alone, to carry a message in your heart that nobody can hear." His voice cracked. "She's not speaking a language. She's sharing her pain. And pain doesn't need translation." The room went quiet. The emissary lifted her hand slowly. She reached toward Marcus. Chancellor Draven hesitated. "Let him try," Lyris said. "What do we have to lose?" Draven looked at the dying emissary, at her reaching hand, at her desperate eyes. "Fine," he said. "But when he fails, I want him removed from this station permanently." Marcus walked toward the emissary. Each step felt like a mile. The whole galaxy was watching. And he was just a broken man, with nothing left to lose. Two souls become one, the moment everything changed. Marcus knelt beside the emissary. Up close, she was even more beautiful, and even more sad. Her purple eyes held oceans of tears. Her silver skin was cold to the touch. She looked at him. Really looked. Like she was searching for something inside him. Marcus didn't try to speak. He didn't try to understand her words. Instead, he closed his eyes. He thought about Lily. He remembered her laugh, her smile, the way she would grab his hand when she was scared, the way she would press her ear to his chest to feel his heartbeat. He remembered the lullaby he used to hum for her every night. Softly, he started humming. The same lullaby, the same melody, the song he hadn't sung in 5 years. The emissary's eyes went wide. She felt it. The love, the loss, the pain that never heals. She reached up and touched his face. And suddenly, Marcus gasped. Visions exploded in his mind. He saw a beautiful planet filled with silver trees and purple oceans. He saw children playing in gardens of light. He saw a mother holding her babies, singing to them in that strange musical language. Then he saw darkness, shadow creatures emerging from space, creatures made of hunger and death. They didn't have faces. They didn't have bodies. They were just emptiness, living emptiness that consumed everything. He saw the children screaming. He saw the mother trying to protect them. He saw her failing. He saw her hiding alone in a ship, crying as her world burned. He saw 10,000 years of loneliness, of floating through empty space, of waiting for someone, anyone, to hear her warning. The vision stopped. Marcus was crying, sobbing. His whole body shook with grief that wasn't just his own. The emissary was crying too, but she was also smiling for the first time in 10,000 years. Someone understood. She spoke, and this time Marcus heard her words, not through his ears, through his heart. They are coming back, the devourers, the ones who killed my children. They sleep for thousands of years. Then they wake. Then they feed. They are waking now. They will come for your galaxy, for everyone, for everything. Marcus looked at her with tears streaming down his face. How do we stop them? I have the answer. I have carried it for 10,000 years. But I am too weak to share it, too weak to... She started fading. Her glow was dimming. No! Marcus grabbed her hand. Stay with me. Tell me what to do. She smiled weakly. You already know, sweet child. You already know. She touched his forehead. Light exploded, and everything went white. The transfer, her final gift. When Marcus opened his eyes, he knew everything. He knew how the devourers moved through space. He knew their weakness, a specific frequency of light that could destroy them. He knew the weapon designs that the Velith had created, the weapons that could have saved them if they had more time. He knew everything the emissary had carried for 10,000 years. She had given him her entire mind, her memories, her knowledge, her life's work. She had given him everything. Marcus looked down at her. Her glow was gone, her purple eyes were closed, her silver skin was turning grey. No, he whispered. No, no, no. Please. She opened her eyes one last time. Thank you, she whispered, for hearing me, for understanding me, for making my long journey such worth something. She reached up and touched his tears. You humans, you feel so deeply, you love so strongly. That is not weakness. That is the greatest power in the universe. She smiled. Protect them. Protect everyone. Be the voice I could not be. Her hand fell. Her eyes closed. Her body turned to light, soft, beautiful silver light that floated up and disappeared into the stars. The last Velith was gone. Marcus knelt alone, holding nothing. The room was completely silent. Every alien leader, every scientist, every guard. They all watched in stunned silence. They had just witnessed something impossible. A homeless human had done what their greatest minds could not. He had heard her, he had understood her, and now he carried her message. Marcus speaks, the warning. Marcus stood up slowly. His legs were shaking, his heart was broken, but his mind was clear, clearer than it had ever been. He turned to face the council. She was the last of the Velith, he said. His voice was different now, stronger. The first intelligent species in this galaxy. 10,000 years ago, their entire civilization was destroyed in 1 month. He looked at Chancellor Draven. They were destroyed by creatures called the Devourers, shadow beings that consume life energy. They travel through dark space. They sleep for thousands of years. Then they wake up. Marcus's eyes burned with intensity. They're waking up now. They'll be here in 6 months, and they will consume everything, every planet, every species, every child. Panic erupted in the room. Impossible, Draven shouted. How do we know this is true? Marcus raised his hand. Silver light glowed from his palm. She gave me everything, her memories, her knowledge, the weapon designs that can destroy them. I can show you. I can show all of you. He closed his eyes. The silver light expanded, and suddenly every alien in the room saw what Marcus had seen. The beautiful Velith planet, the shadow creatures, the death, the destruction, the mother watching her children die. When the vision ended, many aliens were crying. Some were trembling. Chancellor Draven himself had tears on his face. By the stars, he whispered. It's all true. Marcus nodded. We have 6 months to prepare. The Velith couldn't stop them because they were alone. But we're not alone. There are thousands of species in this galaxy. If we work together, we can survive. He looked around the room. But only if we stop fighting each other, only if we stop looking down on each other. The emissary didn't choose your best scientists to save you. She chose me, a homeless human, because I could feel her pain." His voice rose. "Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe the galaxy doesn't need more intelligence. Maybe it needs more heart, more empathy, more love." He paused. "That's what she wanted you to know. That's the message she died to deliver. The universe isn't saved by the strongest or the smartest. It's saved by those who care enough to listen." Silence. Then slowly Ambassador Lyris stood up. "I believe him," she said, "and I stand with humanity." Another leader stood, then another, then another. One by one, the aliens rose to their feet. Finally, Chancellor Draven stood. He walked to Marcus and did something he had never done before. He bowed to a human. "Tell us what to do," he said. "We will follow." The galaxy unites. 6 months later. 6 months passed, like a dream. The galaxy had never worked so hard, or so together. Using the weapon designs from Marcus's mind, scientists built new ships, new weapons, new defenses. Every species contributed something. Some gave technology, some gave soldiers, some gave resources. For the first time in history, the galaxy was truly united. And at the center of it all was Marcus. He wasn't a homeless man anymore. He was Admiral Marcus, commander of the United Fleet, the man who carried the emissary's voice. But inside, he was still the same broken father who had lost everything. Every night, he looked at the stars and whispered to Lily, "Daddy's going to protect them, sweetheart, just like I couldn't protect you." He wore the emissary's necklace around his neck, the only physical thing she had left behind. It glowed softly whenever he touched it. Sometimes, late at night, he swore he could hear her voice. "You're not alone, Marcus. You were never alone." The Devourers arrive. The final battle. The day came. A dark cloud appeared at the edge of the galaxy, but it wasn't a cloud. It was them, the Devourers, millions of shadow creatures stretching across space like a wave of death. They moved without ships. They didn't need them. They were darkness itself. Marcus stood on the command ship, looking at the enemy. He was scared. Everyone was scared. But they were ready. "All ships," Marcus said into the communicator. "This is Admiral Marcus. Today we fight for everyone we've lost, everyone we love, everyone who comes after us." He gripped the emissary's necklace. She waited 10,000 years for this moment. Let's make sure she didn't wait in vain. He raised his hand. "Fire!" 1,000 ships fired at once. Beams of light shot through space, the special frequency that the Velith had discovered, the only thing that could hurt the Devourers. The shadow creatures screamed. It was a terrible sound, a sound of hunger and rage and surprise. They had never been hurt before. They had never faced anything that could touch them. Until now, the battle raged for hours. Ships exploded. Soldiers died. The Devourers kept coming, but so did the galaxy. When one ship fell, another took its place. When one species retreated, another advanced. They fought as one. They died as one. And slowly, they started winning. The Devourers were weakening. Their numbers were shrinking. The light weapons were working. Finally, Marcus piloted his ship into the heart of the shadow cloud. "Marcus, no!" Lyris screamed through the communicator. "You'll die!" "Maybe," Marcus said calmly, "but if I don't do this, everyone else will." He flew straight into the darkness. The Devourers surrounded him, tried to consume him, but the light from his weapons pushed them back. He reached the center, the core of the swarm, the queen, the biggest devourer he had ever seen. A mountain of shadow and hunger. Marcus looked at it without fear. "This is for the Velith," he whispered, "for the emissary, for Lily." He activated the final weapon, a bomb made of pure light. Everything went white. The aftermath, a new beginning. When the light faded, the Devourers were gone, every single one destroyed, erased from existence. The galaxy had won. Celebrations erupted on every planet, every species, every station. People laughed and cried and hugged each other. They had survived. But Marcus? Search teams looked for days. They found pieces of his ship. They found his communicator. They found his badge. But they didn't find him. Everyone assumed he was dead. The hero who had sacrificed himself to save the galaxy. They built statues of him. They named schools after him. They told stories about the homeless human who had understood an ancient alien when no one else could. But far away, in a quiet corner of space, something glowed. The emissary's necklace floated among the stars, and inside its light was Marcus. He wasn't dead. He was somewhere else, somewhere between life and death, somewhere where the emissary was waiting for him. She smiled at him. "You did it," she said. "You saved them all." Marcus smiled back, tears in his eyes. "We did it, together." She reached out her hand. "Come, there are others like us, other beings who gave everything for love, other souls who understood that connection is more powerful than anything." "What about the galaxy? What if they need me again?" "They'll be fine. You taught them the most important lesson." She touched his heart. "You taught them to listen, to feel, to love." Marcus took her hand. "Will I see Lily again?" The emissary smiled. "She's been waiting for you. She says she can finally hear your songs." Marcus broke down crying. Happy tears, relieved tears. The tears of a father who was about to hold his daughter again. Together, Marcus and the emissary walked into the light. Two broken souls who had found each other across 10,000 years, two voices that had finally been heard. The galaxy's greatest minds couldn't decode her language. Their machines failed, their knowledge failed, their pride failed. But a homeless human, a man with nothing but grief and love, understood every word. Because some messages aren't meant for the mind. They're meant for the heart, and on that day, humanity proved something that the universe had forgotten. The smallest voice can carry the biggest message. The weakest soul can have the strongest heart. And sometimes, the one who has lost everything is the only one who can save everyone. This was the story of Marcus, the man who listened when no one else could, the human who spoke an ancient alien's language with nothing but love.